Burning Sins, Prologue, Part 2. Being generous is giving others a helping hand, using your resources at stake to just help that disadvantaged person. However, we sometimes think twice about helping out due to that person's social status, wealth, etc., and are afraid of being judged by others. Why not help a beggar? Just because he's filthy? We were made with two hands for a reason. One to help ourselves, and the other to help others.
So our little Kiana has brought in another lost guest?
Oh my, so it would seem.
Nathan looked around the living area as he kept his free hand resting on his pistol. His other arm was used to hold Maya up, the little girl snoozing lightly against his chest as she rested on his forearm. Keeping her secure against him, he eyed the various people around him. Several guards, men and women, stood at the entrances of the room. Their hands were behind their backs, and their attire consisting of matching black suits with red-collared shirts underneath. Keeping himself firmly in the center of them to create as much distance as possible, he had also made sure to keep space between himself and the family that took the two siblings on the street. Judging from the decor, the guards, and a few people rummaging and working in other areas of the manor, he assumed he had been brought to the house of some sort of high-ranking official.
No need to be so tight, boy. You can rest easy. I can assure you, you are not the first to stand where you are. Our family has a known history of picking up strays off the streets and giving them a temporary home.
Nathan turned back to the family, the father of the three before him sitting in a lavish chair behind an ornate desk. His wife stood beside him, looking almost identical to Kiana, barring she was more mature. "Who are you?" The man rose an eyebrow, urging Nathan to elaborate his question. These guards, this place. It's obvious you're not just another nobody on the block. You're either insanely rich or insanely influential." The older gentleman smirked as he sat up in his seat.
That I am, son. Tell me, the name Whitney doesn't ring a bell for you?
My sister and I lived in a secluded region of the suburbs. A place where we don't get out too much, given what we had to work with.
Understandable. Well, the last name Whitney is just a cover. I am Alessandro Agasti. I am the Don, the boss of the Esecutore del Diavolo.
Nathan narrowed his eyes, recognizing that name from the few old magazines and newspapers he had found around his home when cleaning the house. The Devil's Enforcers. You're Italian, then? Alessandro nodded. You're a little far from Italy, aren't you? What's an Italian mafia doing in Manchester?
My boy, the Esecutore del Diavolo were one of the biggest crime families and syndicates in northern Italy. Alongside other big families that held dominion over different sections of the country, we ran places like Verona and Florence like a well-oiled machine. However, what many people don't realize is that we ourselves have a lot of rules to follow, laws to enforce in the ways of the family.
Nathan stared at him for a moment, then drifted his eyes to his wife. Seeing his gaze lock onto her, Alessandro lowered his head.
My relationships, many of them caused problems for the Esecutore del Diavolo. I had to leave a lot of the old flings behind. A lot of good women, to keep my position as the heir to the Don. When I eventually did become the Don, I found my wife, lost and alone on the street. I took her in, gave her food and shelter. Some years pass, and we fell in love. Some more years pass, and we had Kiana.
And I'm assuming the other families didn't like that.
Marriages in mafia families are complicated. I had no choice but to take the Esecutore del Diavolo and leave the city of Palermo to another family. From there, we had our own rules, our own policies. One of which is giving street rats like you a chance.
A chance? For what? One of the guards stepped forward, setting down a fresh pair of clothes. It was the uniforms for the Devil's Enforcers, but instead of a red interior coloring, it was blue.
A new life? My daughter takes after myself, and when she becomes of age, she is going to be taking my place as Don of the new Esecutore del Diavolo. I've lived my long years raising her, protecting her, and teaching her. All of which is to prepare her for the day she runs Manchester's own chain of underground businesses. One lesson I have yet to teach her is to be a leader. Now, from here, you have two options.
Alessandro snapped his fingers, waving over two of his guards. They approached Nathan, the female of the duo reaching out for Maya. Reeling her away, he turned back to the Don as he rose his hand.
Hey, it's okay. They're just taking her to her room. Trust me, a little girl like her shouldn't see what's about to happen here.
Nathan kept his gaze on Alessandro for a moment, then glared at the two guards before him. I find a single scratch on her, your boss won't recognize you. They said nothing as Nathan handed Maya over to them. He rolled a shoulder as they marched out of the office. Looking back at Alessandro, he watched as the Don interlocked his fingers.
As I said, you have two options. The first is to just simply turn around and walk away. There's no drama, no bad blood, just a simple no, and you and your sister are free to leave. The second is you stay, but at a price.
What, I work for you as an associate?
No, my boy, you work for Kiana as a soldier, a made man, an official member of the family. You earn the money, you take part in interrogations, and you learn to find people and whack them when told to.
Nathan glanced at Kiana, who was staring towards the table with an unreadable expression. Hearing the doors open, everyone looked to the side as two of the guards, whom Nathan assumed now were soldiers of the Dawn Zone, were dragging in a captive. He wasn't a very built man, and was dressed in rags dirtier than Nathan's own. A burlap sack was placed over his head, and a thick rope tied his hands together. Forced to his knees in front of Nathan, the Don ushered to the captive.
This here is Lenny. He was an underboss of mine who decided to not only steal from the family, but use his power in my name to force himself on pretty young women. People like him are, scum of the scum. Lowest of the low. In the new Esecatory del Diavolo, we do not kill who we don't have to. We do not torment the people of Manchester who are living their lives outside of our business. We do not rob, torture, or take advantage of the innocent. Any one of those is a great offense to our name, and what the new Esecatory del Diavolo stands for.
Alessandro stood up, placing his hands behind his back.
Take your pistol there, son, and prove your loyalty to the family. Do this, and you're in.
Nathan looked up at him in silence, then drew his pistol. Checking the clip, he found there was only one bullet left. Slipping it back in, he stood there for a brief period, his mind slowly going over his options. Out there on the street, Nathan could barely defend himself and Maya. They're too young to be out there as they were. Compared to every criminal on the run, they were practically children. But here there was a chance. But he needed to know for sure. If I do this, if I become yours, do you promise to keep Maya safe? He looked back up at Alessandro. The new Esecatory del Diavolo protects the innocent. There's no one out there more pure than her. She didn't deserve this life, and I've been trying to find something better, to keep her sane. I want her to grow up happy, and not constantly fear if the boogeyman's going to bust down her door and kick her to the floor. He walked to the front of the desk, staring the Dawn in the eye. Can you protect her?
On my life, on my name, and on my grave. You have my word as both the Dawn of the new Esecatory del Diavolo and a married man and father.
Nathan turned back around, raising his hand up and aiming the pistol at the captive. In one swift squeeze of the trigger, a flash of white came from the barrel of the gun, and the former underboss dropped to his side, a red blotch forming in the sack at the side of his head. Lowering his pistol, Nathan watched as the soldiers dragged the body out, his face as unreadable as Kiana's. Alessandro nodded to himself, placing a hand on the fresh pair of clothes and sliding it to the boy.
Welcome to the family, Nathan. Sometimes there are high points and low points in life. Those points in our lives don't matter. It's all about how we tackle them that matters. It's good to be highly enthusiastic in every situation. Good and bad. Even though in a bad situation, it may seem bleak, there's always a positive side in every situation. Sometimes we dwell too much on the cons in a bad situation, and we're discouraged. Focusing on the positive side, no matter how small,
can help us to be motivated and propelled. When you're positive in every situation, you will be able to find light under every circumstance. If you feel sad, laugh it out, then smile. In a way, laughter is infectious and can spread to others too. Kind of feels like Akiba Maid Wars in a way, and I don't mind that at all. And if you haven't seen that anime, I highly recommend it. Overall, this is freaking getting good. Anywho, let's get on to our loyal donators. Top donators: Jessie Smith, Star 630, BadassWaffle, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and IronSky. Match by Conan, Anon, JockeTF, Darkseid, Rayden, Narwhals, Black Moon, Pastel Skies, Austin Roland, Serper, The Mordred, Omicron, Rubber, Tab 9852, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Ricel, Shadow Moon, Luigi 88, Chance Quest, Big Smoke 369, Bobcat JJ, Wonder Princess J1102, Calidus, a little mighty, many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.